All right, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Big Doug and Carmi Show. Our guest today is Denny Carter. Very excited to have him. First time to the show. George, before we get to meet Denny a little bit closer, I thought we'd bring back an old fan favorite. We're going to play the birthday game to start out.
I'm excited about this.
I will list off some famous folk that have birthdays this week.
Gotcha.
And you and Denny will see how close you can get to their actual birthdays.
Denny, you're right. I'm awful at this game, by the way. It'll be really bad, so we'll have a good time.
I'm probably not going to be good, but I can fake it.
All right, let's do it. Fake it till you make it. Let's do it.
Yeah. It is James Vanderbeek's birthday. James Vanderbeek.
Okay.
He has a birthday this week. How old do you think he turns?
Let me put this together. Shoot. Well, go ahead, Denny. If you're ready to go, you pull the trigger.
I think I have it. It's definitely. How old am I? I'm 40. So James Vanderbeek is turning 47.
I'm in the same ballpark. I was thinking, he probably was at Varsity Blues. He was 18, 19 at that time, about 20 years ago. I'd say 47 is a great guess. I'm going a little bit younger. 44.
47's it.
Oh, 47's it. Oh, you nailed it. Okay, good guess. You nailed it. Perfect. All right, cool.
Yes.
Cool.
All right.
Let's see. Nice job. Jessica Biel has a birthday this week. Jessica Biel.
Beautiful. I love Jessica Biel. Sorry. Yeah, be appropriate. But I think she's got to be in her 40s too, though. She's got to be maybe 40. I'll be nice. 39, 38.
No. You gotta be real with this game.
I gotta be real with this game. Gotta be appropriate. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I know you want to be nice and low ball people's ages. No, you got to be real.
All right, I'll be real.
Jessica Biel is. She is 44.
I'll read
42.
42. Okay, right in the middle between both of us. All right, perfect. All right, cool.
George, you probably would have been close if you'd have gone.
I was going to say 42. I should have pulled it back. I should have been.
Come on, George.
On my heart. Exactly. There you go.
Connie Britton has a birthday this week. Connie Britton. That's Friday Night Lights.
Right.
Nashville.
I'm less certain about this. I felt really good about Vanderbeek. I felt really good about Beal. Connie Britton. What do you think, George?
I don't even know who Connie Britton is. Is that bad?
Oh, really? No. I know. Let me
look up a picture of her real quick while you guys are talking.
She's 50. She's 56.
I know you're talking about now.
57?
You were on there.
Right? You really did this game. You were saying you weren't. Okay, wow, okay.
Let's see. Bow Wow. Bow Wow has a birthday this week that will make us all feel old. I promise.
Yeah.
He's not little anymore. Just
no. He's fully grown, possibly collecting Social Security. Bow Wow.
Bow Wow's got to be. He's got to be in his 30s now, huh? That's how crazy. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm actually going to guess 40.
Wow. Now I would say maybe 34.
37 for Bow Wow.
37. Wow, he's 37. Wow, okay. It's crazy.
And last one, David Faustino. You remember him from Married with Children.
Wow.
He was the son in Married with Children.
Bud.
Yes.
Who was also, by the way, Bud was on an episode of X-Files. I think an early episode of X-Files. He plays basically Bud in the X-Files.
That's so funny. He's got to be upper 40s, I'm guessing now, right?
No, I'm older than that.
You think so?
I'm gonna go.
You're great at this game. Take a shot. I have no idea.
You got to go with. We're gonna go with 53.
Bud slides in at 50.
Okay. Wow, I was going 48, 47 is what I was thinking. Denny's, dude, you're on point. You're trivia king over here. Okay, I like this. All right.
Watch too much TV, guys. Too much.
There you go. Awesome.
All right, Denny. First time on the show, we always like to get to know the guests a little bit. Tell us how you guys started in the business.
Yeah. So I work for NBC Sports, mostly fantasy football analysis. In the off season, I tend to get into real football analysis because there's no fantasy to talk about. So you can check out my stuff on NBCSports.com, the RotoWorld page. I also host a podcast on the side called the Dad Season Show, which you can find on YouTube. I say we, multiple personalities, I guess. I have 4 episodes of that in the can, so folks can check that out. It's a fun one to do. I got started in the fantasy space in 2011. Wow, long time ago. 2011, and I was a journalist for a few outlets. Worked doing the fantasy things on the side until 2020, when I was hired by NBC, and I've done that full time since.
Cool.
George, you want to start us off here?
Yeah, so Denny, we were talking about free agencies. We have our legal tampering period coming up. I read your awesome article recently about all the different free agents that were coming out.
Thanks.
Be kind of low on the wide receiver class. I kind of thought, let's kind of touch on that a little bit. Like for one question I had, you said Stephon Diggs is untradeable in your opinion, and I know he's been trying to leave Buffalo for a couple of years. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, his contract, look, I really try not to pass myself off as a contract expert because every time I try that online, I get slapped down by actual contract experts.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna wade in those waters. But I will say from what I've heard from folks who actually know about NFL deals, the Bills would have to eat a lot of dead cap money in order to get rid of him. And they can't afford to do that. I mean, you saw the Bills, they took a lot of hits on the defensive end by having to make cap moves to try to, get toward getting under the cap this March or this month. They did that this week. Diggs is stuck. They're just stuck with Diggs. Diggs is stuck there. I know he probably doesn't want to be there, it seems like. I mean, his brother basically, he posts every other week during the regular season that Stefan's got to get out of Buffalo. But I think they're stuck because the Bills can't afford to trade him.
Makes sense.
We saw you were talking about Russell earlier. This Russell Wilson thing is interesting because the fact that Denver will eat almost all the money he can go play wherever he wants for whatever he wants, I suppose. And it will be interesting for a team like the Giants probably thought they had no chance to hit reset. It's an interesting scenario where maybe they're able to hit reset without it hurting quite so bad.
You're right. And for those who may have not seen the news this morning, Adam Schefter reported that Russell Wilson had an exploratory meeting with the Giants. So I guess it's more on the informal side. He is having formal face-to-face talks with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers brass today. So we'll see how that goes. I guess there could be something of a market for Russell Wilson if they're able to sign him to a very small short-term deal. I do think, I'm not going to bore folks with the metrics, but all the metrics point to Russell Wilson being an upgrade over Daniel Jones, to put it kindly. So it's no wonder the Giants are interested, because if they go with Daniel Jones, and I'm sure as Washington fans, you guys know this, if they go with Daniel Jones this year and he tanks again, they're all gone. Like Dable, Sean, everybody, they're all gone. And so they're trying to create some sort of safeguard. And if that's even Russell Wilson, then I'm sure they'll go with it.
Danny, to that point, obviously the QB carousel is very intriguing around the NFL. We see it spinning constantly. Where do you foresee some of these quarterbacks landing, right? We talked about Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins is potentially on the market. Justin Fields is also potentially on the market as well. Where do you think they land? And do you think it's going to be something that's, day one or day two of free agency? Or is it going to kind of be like they're going to be testing the market for a little while now? We want to see where it goes.
Good question, George. I do think just from the reporting, both from on the local level and on the national level from Schefter and Rappaport and others, that the market for Justin Fields is not really there. I don't see like multiple teams trying to outbid each other for Justin Fields. I actually think that we're approaching a worst case scenario for Justin Fields, which is him having to sign with a team and maybe competing for a starting job, and not just having it handed to him. I don't think the Falcons are interested. I think that Zach Robinson, the new Atlanta offensive coordinator, I think Raheem Morris, I think they want a proven pocket passer, a drop back guy.
I think so.
That's
too.
Cousins. Okay. That's Cousins. Or maybe it's McCarthy. Maybe it's Bo Nix. Maybe it's somebody that they can get to fill that role. I don't think that they're in for a Justin Fields type. Fields would make sense, I think, in Pittsburgh, but the reports are that they have no interest in Justin Fields. So I'm struggling to find a spot where he makes sense, I guess, except for maybe the Giants. I don't know.
Is it crazy to think that it would have been crazy just a couple of weeks ago. I'd suggest that Sam Howell's got more trade value right now than Justin Fields does. And I don't think that's hyperbole. It's an interesting thing with Justin Fields. It's going to cost a lot of money. You still can get you can stretch 4 years out of Justin Fields between the 5th year option and 2 franchise tags. It's just, I'm not sure. I think he's scheme specific, right? So like you have to have something in mind, something they didn't have in Chicago, I don't think, with him.
I will say two things there on the Sam Howell side. I think Howell's end to 2023 really dinged any sort of trade value that might, because I mean, as you all know, I mean, it was abysmal. You know, I mean, he was really, really bad in the final month of the season, and not entirely his fault, but it is what it is. Like the stats were horrific from a fantasy standpoint. I found that out the hard way. But but on the Fields end of things, I was talking on the RotoWorld Football show a couple weeks ago that there is no sign from last year, whether it's statistics, whether it's advanced metrics, whatever you want to look at, film, that he made the step, that he made the leap as a passer. In fact, he regressed in most areas as a passer. That teams see that. If I see that, teams see that, and they say, I don't know, we can't really commit to this guy. So wherever Fields lands, I think it'll be very incentive laden contract. I think it'll be short term. I think the teams will build in the ability to yank the string out. That's not a phrase, but you know,
pull the rug out. Yeah, something. Yeah,
to kill the deal early if that works, or if it doesn't work for Fields and that team. I think that he could end up in a team with a team that we're not even talking about right now.
Gotcha.
Who spends like what, a mid-round pick? Where we're talking about like a 4th round now, and at what point is it better to just? Is there any chance they just keep him in Chicago?
No, because
I was wondering about that. Yeah,
I think it would become too toxic of a situation to bring in Caleb Williams and to be like, all right, Justin, you're the backup now. I can't imagine them doing that, but I do think they could still get, a 3rd, maybe a 2nd. But like I said, I don't know what team is out there saying, oh yeah, I'll definitely part with a 2nd rounder to get Justin Fields. I don't see it.
Danny, two other interesting quarterback positions that are open up for me would be the Raiders potentially trying to look around for a quarterback, as well as Baker Mayfield where he lands. Do you have any kind of inclinations or any kind of guess what would like to happen or think was going to happen? I feel like Baker's going back to Tampa, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, George, it would be shocking if Baker did not end up back with Tampa. I mean, they hired Liam Cohen as their offensive coordinator. Liam Cohen worked with Baker Mayfield when Mayfield was with the Rams for 15 minutes a couple years ago. Okay. They're talking with him. They're talking with his people. I did see, I forget who reported it, but the Falcons are kind of a dark horse to swoop in and get Baker from the Bucks if they don't land Cousins, because again, I don't think Zach Robinson wants a mobile dual threat quarterback. I think he wants a guy who can drop back and fling it. And Baker showed that he could do that last year. So it's something to watch with the Falcons, but I would say 90+% he stays with Tampa. And who was the other guy you mentioned?
I was saying the Raiders. Like, what do you think they potentially could do? I know they want to trade up potentially, or I don't know what your thoughts on that. Yeah.
And the Broncos quietly need a quarterback, and it feels like nobody's talking about it.
AFC West.
They're pretending, Doug. They're pretending that they're going to go with Jarrett Stidham.
Right. Yeah.
But we know that that's not going to happen. I completely blanked on the Raiders because that's the logical endpoint for the Justin Fields situation. I think is him just landing there maybe for a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Look, the Raiders they're a bad franchise, okay, and they're a franchise that seems to be perpetually in what is it called? Purgatory. Yes. Yeah. In purgatory. I could not come up with that word. And they would stay there with Fields. They seem content with that. And Fields would keep them there. They would be a 7-8 win team, and they would just go on as they are. So I think Fields to Vegas makes sense.
East Coast Gridiron in the chat real quick. I think about this all the time with Eberflus Sting. It feels like an odd marriage. If you're going with Caleb Williams, I understand that the defense was good down the stretch, but it felt like the perfect time to hit the reset button. Were you surprised that the Bears just didn't totally hit reset? I think people thought Fields got good down the stretch last season because they started winning, but really that defense just was lights out once Montez Sweat got there, actually.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny how that works? Yeah. The defense was good, and Fields was kind of put in the game manager role, like don't screw this up. And and he did okay in that role, and maybe that's a lesson for whoever lands him next.
Because I figured they would reset with Eberflus. Is he not a lame duck coach this year? With 1 year, is it just 1 year left?
I don't know, man. I mean, I will say that his hairstyle and wardrobe has gotten an upgrade this season.
Yes, I noticed.
I saw that tweet.
He's looking, Everflu's looking good. He's looking stylish. He's a young man again. So I don't know. Maybe that says that he's there for the long term. I am shocked he wasn't fired. Honestly, really, really shocked.
Yes, I figured what we can do right now is kind of pull up our free agent list, kind of look at some of the bigger names. If you don't mind, Danny, kind of talk about them real quick. We can pull that up. So here's the top 100 list. I don't know if you can see this on your screen, but I can also read it out loud. We see Chris Jones is leading the top of the free agent market. We see him there. Kirk Cousins, obviously. We'll start off with this. Maybe this is an easier question to kind of dip our toe in. The running back market. We see Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs from the Raiders. What do you foresee that happening? Where do you see them landing? Do you think it's going to be a pretty lucrative market for them, or is the competition going to drop the price? Or what are your thoughts?
Who's who of the running backs?
It is. It's a really big class.
List.
Yeah, I wish for these guys that the market was better for them, but Barkley, Jacobs, even Derrick Henry, maybe to a lesser extent, but they're all going to have to settle for pretty sparse deals. We saw Austin Eckler threaten to hold out and last year and come back for an extra like $2 million. That's nothing to these guys. So I do think Jacobs would make sense in Dallas. That would make sense to me. He does seem to be like a Raiders guy, and Antonio Pierce really, really likes his guys. And again, look, the Raiders are a bad organization, and they're probably apt to overpay to keep Jacobs. And that's good for Jacobs. I'm happy to see that for a running back, especially. But I do think that it was not much of a market. And then for Barkley, I guess Houston might be interested. I suppose the Eagles, my RotoWorld colleague, Pat Daugherty, mentioned that the Eagles would make sense as a landing spot for Barkley. But I don't think that there will be tons of teams clamoring for Saquon.
Who do you think is a better contract, Saquon or Josh Jacobs, in your opinion?
That's a good question. I think that Jacobs is somehow younger.
I think they're about a year different. I think Jacobs is 26 and Barkley's 27. Yeah.
Yeah, I would guess Jacobs.
Okay.
Although Jacobs really fell off last year, but it is hard, guys. When a player plays in such a bad offense, it's hard to distinguish how good or bad he was and how much it was just the offense stinking around him.
Well, also the weird thing for the Jacobs fans will be, they kind of ran him into the ground like the Cowboys did Zeke. So while you're right, he's young, it feels like he's got a lot more tread on the tire, particularly from a guy like Barkley, who I think was hurt for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Barkley has all sorts of injuries. I'm trying not to use the term injury prone, but, kind of seems like it. Jacobs, I think that Jacobs' injury history is a little less frightening. And also Jacobs has been really good as a pass catcher when given the opportunity. And Saquon's, efficiency numbers in the pass game has really fallen off a cliff the past 2 years. So that could be a concern to whoever might be interested in him.
George is sold that Henry will be going to the Ravens.
Yeah, that makes sense. The aforementioned Pat Daugherty from NBC Sports, he is all aboard. He was literally yelling at me on a podcast the other day about Henry's going to the Ravens and he's going to make the difference. I'm a little more skeptical. I don't know if late career Derrick Henry is going to take them from, I don't know where do you go? The number one seed to what? The number one seed? I don't know where there is to go for these Ravens. But they were not run heavy. This is the thing about the Ravens, guys. The Ravens under Todd Monken last year were not run heavy for the first time in Lamar's life. Okay. And so bringing in Derrick Henry I would hope, honestly, really, I mean, not just from a fantasy standpoint. I know how that goes, but I would hope that they don't revert back to an ultra run heavy type style, because it worked. It worked. I know the disappointment in the postseason. I get that, but it worked because they were dominant in the second half of the season and we're the number 1 seed. What else do you want?
Yeah, I had been saying all season people are going to be surprised at the difference that Todd Monken offense makes. I'm a huge Georgia fan, so I've been watching it for the last couple of years, and you could see what it did for Lamar. But when they didn't have the run game to lean back on, I think Lamar got nervous, and you could see him looking a lot more nervous in that last game than we had seen him all year. I was seeing the other day, it sounds like maybe Eckler to the Chiefs. That would be a fun one.
Yeah. We wrote about that in our free agency primer, which you can find on NBCSports.com. Eckler to the Chiefs makes a lot of sense because he could fill in that Jerick McKinnon role. Isaiah Pacheco, gets the, between the tackles stuff and early down stuff. Eckler could be the third down back, the guy catching balls out of the backfield. And I will say that this is an offense, this Kansas City offense, the way it's currently constructed, that has a ton of checkdowns. Okay, we saw that last year. Patrick Mahomes had basically like a similar passing profile to Bryce Young in many ways, and in that it was a lot of checkdowns against 2 high safeties. And I think that role for Eckler would make a lot of sense because, you look at his yards per route run, which is a nice metric to look at when you're talking about efficiency in the pass game. And it fell off last year. Okay. He's usually in the top 3. He was 18th among running backs last year. So it fell off, but it wasn't catastrophic. It wasn't a thing where you go, I don't know if this guy can make it back. And again, like I mentioned a minute ago, the Chargers offense was a disaster. Like, how can you put that all on Eckler? Oh, well, Eckler couldn't succeed in, let me check my notes. Oh yes. The worst offense in the NFL. So I think that getting him to Mahomes, getting him to the Chiefs could make all the difference. And not using him as an every down back, I think, is important because, he's getting up there in age, 30 or 31. And he has a long injury history, as you know.
And Danny, to that end, right? I think the Chargers are probably one of the more disappointing teams in the NFL, right? Like every year you kind of have their dark horse about they potentially could go to the Super Bowl. Just Herbert's going to elevate him to the next level. We keep hearing that over and over again. Quentin Johnston's going to be an awesome fit in their offense. You're a fantasy guy, so I love this. This is actually fantastic. What are your thoughts on this? They're at number 5. Do you think they're going to potentially add another offensive piece? Do you think they're going to put a tackle there? Like, what would they do? And what's stopping the Chargers from being successful, in your opinion? What do you think?
Well, yeah, no, it's a good question. Yeah, every year, this is the Chargers. They're going to
the Chargers year every year.
But this is different. The Harbaugh situation is
true.
Different.
That's true.
Old school coach. He's going to come in. They're going to establish it like it's 1987. They're going to play a good defense. He brought in Greg Roman as offense coordinator. They're getting the band back together. Okay, like they. And I want to say this. I want to say this on air. I said this on the RotoWorld Football Show. I just want to be on the record because I get the sense reading Chargers beat writers, reading Harbaugh's comments about the offense, about the team, Roman's comments. I get the sense. This sounds crazy, but I get the sense that the Chargers wouldn't completely dismiss trading Justin Herbert.
I keep hearing that. I keep hearing that over. I'm getting McCarthy's, but I keep hearing potentially.
Right. Do you realize the haul that you could get for Justin Herbert? You could get, honestly, 4 first-round picks for him right now.
And they're in a salary cap crunch as well. So they alleviate all that money, get McCarthy, and then have those draft picks. I mean, it's not the craziest notion in the world, in my opinion.
So I could see Harbaugh getting McCarthy, Blake Corum, and Joe Alt, the offensive line, and just going berserk in a run-heavy scheme like he did in San Francisco. I think that could really unfold.
Gotcha. Interesting.
It's interesting because we were talking about that when because of also the JJ McCarthy stuff, they run the ball so much with Harbaugh all the way back to Luck, even when and so it's hard to get a gauge sometime on what that offense will look like just because of the run heaviness, in particular when he brings in Roman, and it'd be interesting to see what they do out there.
Greg Roman only does one thing, guys, and that's run the ball. Like there's no that, and that's it. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that they're going to keep Herbert and have Greg Roman as his offensive coordinator. Something's not adding up, guys. Something is weird here. I feel like it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen before the draft, maybe during the draft. Maybe it'll be the biggest bomb ever, during the draft that Herbert gets traded. But I think that Harbaugh is ready for a total reset in LA.
Gotcha.
George, how many picks would you give up if you're the Commanders for Herbert?
For Herbert, shoot. How old is Herbert now? Is he 25, 26, or is he still younger than that? I mean, Danny has an age game. I have no idea anymore.
But I'm bad with players. I'm only good with he's 25. He'll be 26 in like 2 days. Shoot.
I would give up 3 probably, Doug, to be honest with you. That's Justin Herbert, man. He's a proven NFL quarterback. He's a gunslinger, man. I just think, he could definitely build it up. I think his offensive weapons kind of aged over time. We saw Mike Williams get a little bit older, Keenan Allen get a little bit older. Lack of a tight end. Austin Eckler kind of getting to the back end of his career. I like Justin Herbert a lot. I don't know if he is a productive offensive, firepower. I don't know if he's a Super Bowl quarterback, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but I'm not sure.
I don't know if he's like elite, but I mean, look, if you're not willing to part with at least 3 first-rounders, you're not going to be in the
market.
So.
Danny, do you do dynasty fantasy football as well, or what do you do?
Not much.
Okay.
Not much dynasty. I mostly do redraft and then DFS, the DraftKings.
Gotcha.
How many leagues do you usually do a year?
I've actually trimmed it down in recent years because
every dynasty guy I talk to says the same thing.
Yeah,
I trimmed it down.
It's off the handle. Yeah.
Well, dynasty folks are off the handle. Like they're starting a new league every 15 minutes. That's way too much. For me, I want to focus on my league. I want to be able to actually put some TLC into my league. So, and during the season, redraft leagues, I might have 6. Which is not as many as I used to have. Let's just say that.
Gotcha.
Who's going first generally in redraft this year?
Well, I mean, it's a long way, but I mean, it has to be CMC. Just the combination of rushing it and pass catching. Hard to top that profile. I mean, your CMC is a guy in PPR formats where if he scores 20, you're disappointed.
Right. That's right. So and a big bump also. Now, just thinking in that vein, how big of the bump will Jahmyr Gibbs get this year, do you think?
Pretty big one. Because
at the end of the year last year, I was disappointed when he wasn't hitting that 20 mark.
Right, exactly. I think that people will draft him at what I would consider his ceiling,
exactly right.
You're not going to get any sort of cushion, ADP cushion on Jahmyr Gibbs. You're going to have to take him at the top of the market because there's going to always be someone in your league who is just dying to get Jahmyr Gibbs on their team, and rightfully so. He's explosive, he's efficient, really good pass catcher. The Lions offense was a machine in many ways last year, so it makes sense.
Danny, are there a couple free agents that are on the market that you think would be perfect marriages? Do you think it'd be hey, I would love to see this player go here, this player go here? What are your thoughts on that?
I do want to pat myself on the back quickly and say that I wrote up Jonnu Smith to the Dolphins about a day before it happened. I don't know how it happened. I don't know.
There you go. I love it.
I felt it in the cosmos and went with it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Look, Mike McDaniel, he loves fast guys, and Jonnu Smith is the fastest tight end alive. So get him in there. That speedy offense, he makes sense. Also, Jonnu Smith is great after the catch. Every year, his yards after the catch numbers pop off the chart. Okay, I'm a spreadsheet warrior, so that's all I see. I just see dots on the screen, and Jonnu's dot run goes a long way after he catches the ball. So he makes sense in that system because we're talking about a Shanahan style system.
Yeah,
we're talking about a George Kittle sort of role. Not saying we'll get the same production, but that sort of role. So that makes sense. I'm trying to think of some other ones that I wrote up. Oh, Darnell Mooney to Kansas City, I think would be really interesting.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
he could take on the MVS role, but actually be good.
Actually catch the ball. Exactly. Be perfect. Yeah.
And Mooney has in Chicago was good at commanding downfield targets. not so much catching them, we can't have everything. But I would think, guys, that Mahomes throwing those deep passes instead of Justin Fields or whoever his backup was, the guy who played a few games this past year. Badgett, Tyson Badgett. I would guess that Mahomes is an upgrade over those guys. So
probably,
I think so. Yeah, probably.
So, that's my controversial opinion.
Hot take. Yeah,
I do like Mooney to the Chiefs.
Gotcha.
Let's before we get out of here, let's do a couple of the quarterbacks in the draft. We've been asking everybody. Yeah, kind of like before it's come, Washington's got 2. So, how do you kind of have the quarterbacks ranked? What's your preference? Everybody's got a preference.
Yeah.
And who do you like for Washington at 2?
Yeah, so I was actually I wanted to ask you guys about your thoughts on quarterback, because like I've lived in Maryland forever, and I know a lot of Washington fans, and they're all, kind of lapsed fans, I would say.
Yeah.
At this point, because it's been so tough, and I get that. Now, the second pick. I think the steam for Jaden Daniels will reach the point where they might take him at the second overall pick. And, you guys are a decade removed from the traumatic events of RG3. Okay.
PTSD a little bit. Yeah. I see where you're going with this.
Little bit.
Exactly. Go ahead.
and so now you have an ultra mobile quarterback who, by the way, in college was prone to taking massive hits every single game, right?
Yeah.
Who? RG3. So can you guys psychologically and emotionally, can you all deal with this?
Let me start off, Doug, and then you can answer if you don't mind. Sure. So being a DC, born and raised here, love the Commanders, love the Redskins, been following them for years. It's a red flag for me. It's scary for me. I'm worried about Jaden Daniels. Like, I see the excitement. Like, I see, being in here and having every Sunday I can put on Channel 9 and watch Lamar Jackson run around. And I love seeing that excitement of that offense. I would love to have a mobile quarterback like that, but his weight does scare me. I am fearful of that, and seeing RG3 get injured halfway through the season and see the whole roller coaster ride that it was. I think Daniels would be super exciting, but I still don't know how long that would last. That's what I'm scared about, because 185, 200 pounds, 300-pound lineman grabbing him one-handed and throwing him to the ground. Every single hit, I would be nervous watching that first. I'm a season ticket holder too. Watching every single game, to watch that at home would be hard for me to see. I think the upside is higher than Drake May. I think Drake May is that pocket quarterback, that bigger size quarterback in regard to that, like a Justin Herbert type of quarterback. I do see some flaws with him too. I think he's inaccurate. I think he has poor footwork. We talked about that. You hear that all the time. So I am concerned by that. But I think safer is Drake May, but I don't know if you should be going safe at number 2, if that makes any sense. I don't know if Doug, you feel the same way, or Denny, how you guys feel about that. I'm not throwing that out there.
Well, I definitely will say this. Jaden Daniels reminds me more of Robert than Lamar. I think the Lamar comp is new. And listen, that's not a knock. Saying comparing somebody to Robert shouldn't be a knock either. I mean, he was also the number 2 pick, also a Heisman winner. But some of then you were talking about advanced metrics, some of the stuff like the pressure to sack rate, leaving an empty pocket, like avoiding clean pockets. Those are, as I've been told repeatedly, more some of the more transferable numbers.
Predictable,
Yes, predictable. That makes me nervous. They didn't ask Daniels to throw over the middle very much in college. If you can't throw over the middle of the field in today's NFL, I mean, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
So that makes me nervous. I feel like I can clean May's footwork up before I can convince Daniels of all the other things. And then I also kind of subscribe to the notion that we knew May was a first-round draft pick when he was 21 years old.
Highly touted, exactly. Yeah.
Right. And we do this on the podcast all the time, because I don't want to knock a guy for getting better. That's what's supposed to happen. You want a guy to get better. But why did it take to 24 years old in an LSU system that I think probably makes a lot of guys look good?
Yeah.
Before we saw it from Jaden Daniels, that scares me. So I don't know. It's a push take. I want guys to get better, but what took so long?
It's a good, Doug. I'm really glad you mentioned. Bravo for mentioning pressure to sack
Oh
rate.
yes, that's the number du jour this offseason.
Doug is wise. He's wise. Go ahead.
It is, and because I think Washington fans have learned the hard way, like with Sam Howell. Sam Howell's pressure to sack rate was off the charts in college. That wasn't really, I guess, factored in. Well, I guess maybe it was, because otherwise he would have been a first rounder. But what it did is, like you said, Doug, it carried over, to the pros, where the guy's taking an unbelievable, almost record-breaking amount of sacks. Jaden Daniels is in that same boat, and I think that could be a problem. Also, taking big hits in college is not the same as taking big hits in the NFL, as you guys know that. Yeah. So I imagine, I try to think of what my brother-in-law, who's a huge Commanders fan and has been for his whole life. Yeah. And I try to think of what he would say if they drafted Daniels. And I know he would just be in hell. I mean, I know that he would just say, well, we just got RG3.
It's the most polarizing topic in DC right now. Every single day, our Twitter lines are filled with May's flaws and Daniel's flaws going back and forth. Everyone's criticizing each other. That's what it comes down to right now. I
do think May fits the prototype a little better, and he's mobile. I mean, he's not going to be Kirk Cousins back there. I mean, he can move. That guy can move. And he's sloppy and everything. I do think he's a project more so than Daniels. But Doug, the thing about age is correct. Age is such an important factor in quarterback evaluation. Yeah. And people always, every time you talk about age, they go, oh, but Joe Burrow was 24 when he was drafted. Okay.
Joe Burrow is always he's always the reference point. All the time.
Right. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah. You found the one exception.
Exactly.
To the rule. Okay.
Yeah.
And so don't give me Joe Burrow when we're talking about Jaden Daniels. Come on.
Just because they had LSU helmets on and won Heisman. But I'm with you. It's a weird one for me and Daniels. And listen, if the evaluators in Washington land on Daniels and say he's the guy, that's fine. I'll roll with it. It's just, and George said it earlier, and I don't remember a last time when two of them, you either like one and hate the other one, or vice versa. There has been little middle ground, at least here in Washington. But I told George 2 months ago that I thought that, but when it was all said and done, Daniels had the only shot of being the rando guy that gets all the way to number one, because people get excited with the speed.
They do. It's sexier. It's sexier to watch on there.
That's true.
Danny, do you have an opportunity for one or two questions from the chat? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Time? Cool. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'll throw one up here. East Coast Gridiron. Thank you for constantly watching, man. I appreciate you, bro. You said, Danny, if quarterbacks weren't in this draft, who goes number one overall? I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Marvin Harrison Jr., who is the absolute built in a lab prototype wide receiver. Can't miss, honestly. He's a can't miss prospect. So he would go number one. I guess they're projecting him to go to Arizona. Most people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I love that for him, but well, it is what it is, I guess, with him.
Cool.
Interestingly enough, Matt Waldman was on here and said he liked Malik Neighbors better.
Right. Yes, you're right. I did know.
Recently, the neighbors getting closer.
The Neighbors Hive is active online. They're coming from Marvin Harrison Jr.
I don't know if this is a hypothetical or your opinion, or would you, or do you think New England would trade out or stay put? What do you think about that?
I can't imagine them trading out because they need a quarterback. They gotta take one of these quarterbacks. You can't.
People are saying Brissett. What do you think about that? Jacoby Brissett potentially going to New England. That's kind of a placeholder, right? I don't know. What do you think?
That's not a bad thought. I kind of forgot about that. He was rumored to be talking.
Yeah,
I guess that wouldn't be such a bad backup plan. But I mean, with the quarterback position, I mean, look, they swung and missed on Mac Jones. You got to keep moving on. You got to keep drafting quarterbacks. See if they pan out. I don't see any reason they would get out of that spot. Yeah,
it's odd there because the same people that I hear say New England would be stupid not to trade back. They've got so many holes. It's the worst roster in the league. The same people say, but Washington has to take quarterback at number two. And I'm thinking to myself, it sounds like the same exact thing.
You're right. It does. You're right.
It's funny. I guess we have maybe one more and we can wrap it up a little bit. All right, here we go. East Coast Gridiron again. Danny, how likely is it the Chiefs trade out of number 32?
I don't know. I haven't thought a lot about that. I guess I guess if they really like maybe a wide receiver in the late first
They
round,
probably could find one there too. I'm thinking, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like someone who really fits the scheme. I mean, look, I know we're talking about the 2-time back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Okay, I get that. Okay, but that offense, by every measure, was not good this year. And I don't
defense
mean
carried them for most of the season. Honestly, their defense was great.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mahomes being Mahomes.
Yeah,
but you cannot. I don't think that's a model that you should carry over from year to year and just hope to God that it works. Okay,
yeah.
like they need to get back to an efficient. If you look at their EPA per play, they're usually first or second, right? Every year the Chiefs. This year they were 11th. Okay, they were like around like the Jaguars, and you don't look at the Jaguars offense, you think, okay, this offense is pretty middling, right? So they need to upgrade the receiver room. They cannot have this Justin Watson MVS situation where they just have guys running downfield, they doing nothing, no targets, no looks. They have to get playmakers, and so I could see them bumping up to, I don't know, 15 or 20. Maybe if
why not, right?
If the right wide receiver is available for them, yeah.
Are you low on Trevor Lawrence? How do you feel about him?
I am low on Trevor Lawrence.
People are starting to sour on him a little bit. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I don't. Again, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I've been low on Trevor Lawrence for a while because I don't get it with this guy. I don't get like what is he good at? I think he's like kind of mobile,
deep thrower, kind of mobile, bigger guy. Yeah, I don't know.
No,
yeah.
That's the thing, George. He doesn't have a strong arm. Like he doesn't. He does not have a strong. I don't know what else to say about it. No, not a strong arm. Not particularly super accurate. He is mobile. He's a tough guy. He's a team leader. He looks an awful lot like a quarterback.
Looks the part for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, super tall, hair coming out of his helmet. Looks cool as hell. I'll give him that.
He looks cool. Great person. Yeah.
And he's going to be the Jacksonville starter for, I don't know, 10 plus years.
Yeah,
conservatively. Yeah. So there's no way around that. Okay. Like they have to keep him. They have to keep going with him. But like coming out of college, I remember looking at his numbers and being like some of the advanced numbers and being like, what is special about this guy? I heard him described as the Megatron of quarterbacks, and I never really saw it though. I don't know. I think that he's a top 12, top 15 guy, but I don't see him ever getting into that top 5 range.
Gotcha.
It's amazing the guys that are getting ready to get paid.
Yeah.
We were talking to Brad. We were talking to Brad on money. Tua's going to get paid. Dak, of course, is going to get paid. Jordan Love. Did you have Jordan Love on your bingo card 2 years ago, Denny?
I did not.
It's just
but Jordan Love looked the part, man. I mean, I know this sounds like
great.
The laziest comp ever for Jordan Love. I get that, but I've said it over and over. He looks like Aaron Rodgers back there.
It's like Green Bay jersey, I guess. Right?
They mold him that way. Yeah.
I mean,
they didn't mold him that way.
That's same frame, same quick release. He even gets up on his toes when he throws it. I mean, it's just crazy how the Packers never miss at quarterback.
He caught me off. I'm not gonna lie. I did not expect him to be like that. I think he was one of the best, statistically, one of the best quarterbacks to end this season. Like last 8 games, or something crazy like that.
Highest EPA per dropback in the league over the last month and a half of the season.
Jeez.
And if I remember
the young wide receivers. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the Commanders had a shot at him last offseason, didn't they?
I don't remember. Did they?
I thought that there was some trade talk about Jordan Love coming to Washington.
I think there was, just for a brief second. And then, but that was a waste of a flash.
That would have been cool.
That would have been awesome.
Plus, he got to sit. And also, a reminder: he got to sit for 2 years.
He did. Yes, you're right.
Most of them don't get to do that.
Yeah,
Denny, this was awesome, man. I really appreciate this. We'd love to do it again sometime.
Yeah, it was fun.
Cool. All right, take care.
Thanks, guys.